Okay friends, it's time to get started on replacing our camshaft position sensor. Now to do this, we're going to get under the hood along the passenger side and start removing that serpentine belt. Generally with these, I like to give them a little tug to make sure that the serpentine belt tensioner is functioning properly. After that, I'm going to have to go ahead and remove this, but before we do, take a quick note of the belt routing. There's pulleys that it goes over, and there's pulleys that it goes under. The back of the belt touches against things, and the front of the belt touches against things. Take a quick note. With that said, let's move along to removing this belt. I'm going to come right over here to the tensioner using a 14 millimeter. I have my serpentine belt tool. We're going to turn this counterclockwise. That's going to release the tension. Now we can carefully remove the serpentine belt. We'll get our tool out of the way. Now typically at this point, I just go ahead and remove the belt completely. The reason why I want to remove it completely is because I don't need it in the way, and also I like to give it a thorough inspection. Looking at the belt, you want to inspect the backing. Make sure it doesn't look like it's torn, worn, cracked in any way. Also, if it looks like it's excessively shiny, generally that means that it's worn. This one is a little bit shiny, but it's really not in poor condition at all. We also need to pay attention to the ribbed area, the other side. You want to go ahead and wiggle this around a little bit, and we're looking to see if we see a whole bunch of dry rock cracks or large splits in it. Anything that looks like that typically is a good idea to go ahead and replace that belt. This one overall looks good. I'm going to set it aside. Now at this point, if you needed to, you can go ahead and remove this water pump pulley to get a better visual, but typically all I do is just reach right down along the back side of it, along the bottom, and I should be able to feel that sensor right here. Now on it, it's going to have a little tab that I'm going to grab on to remove the wiring. Just grab right onto that tab, we'll slide it away from the sensor, slide it down. Once you have your wiring disconnected, it's a good idea to give it a quick peek. If you see any funny colors, it's corrosion and it needs to be dealt with. This one looks fine, so I'll set it aside. Now we can move along to removing our 10 millimeter headed mounting bolt. Let's get this on here. Quick inspection, make sure it's still going to be reusable. This one looks fine. Let's grab onto that sensor. I'm going to give it a little wiggle to remove it from the engine. If you need to use a little bit of penetrant in this area, that's fine. There it is, friends. Let's use a rag, clean up that mounting hole there. You also want to make sure the engine's clean around the area. Now we can get ready to install that sensor. It's a good idea to just use a little bit of motor oil around the seal here. If you don't have any motor oil that you can grab onto, you could also use a little bit of petroleum jelly. Now once that seal's lubricated, let's get ready to line it up with the engine. Obviously we have to put the sensor in the large hole. The harder part, from up here at least, is going to be trying to line up this bolt hole. Get it up in here, find the larger hole. There we are. So now before I go ahead and try to press it in all the way, I essentially just kind of want to try to take a peek. You could use a mirror or even maybe take a peek through that wheel well. Essentially, we're just going to try to get that lined up. We'll start our mounting bolt in there, and then of course, we're going to torque it to manufacturer's specification. Now we can go ahead and torque this bolt to 89 inch-pounds. Once that's torqued, let's go ahead and reconnect in that electrical connector. There it is. Okay. Give it a little tug to make sure it's secure. Okay friends, now it's time to reinstall our serpentine belt. To start doing this, I'm going to take this end and I'm going to go all the way down to that crank. Let's get it right on that pulley into all the grooves. This is super important. Now what I want to do with the back side of the belt here, or the part that's furthest towards the rear, is bring it around this water pump. Make sure it's still in the grooves on that crank. Now we're also going to bring it up and over this tensioner pulley. After it goes over the tensioner, we're going to bring it all the way down and around the power steering pump pulley that's down located on the back side of the engine here. Make sure it's in those grooves. Now let's make our way back down to where the crank is. We're going to take the forward aspect of this belt and we're going to put it around the AC compressor. That's this area right here. There we are. Now at this point what we want to do is hold the belt taut up in this area near the alternator. Holding it up here, we'll grab our tool, put it on here, relieve the tension, put it up in a position. Now you need to take a quick peek at everything. You need to double check to make sure you're around all the pulleys properly, especially the ribbed pulleys. If you're off by just one tooth on any pulley, you could potentially cause some serious damage to your belt.